A major international cooperation effort is now underway. The Kenyan government has officially signaled its readiness to work closely with the United States government as American authorities trace billions of dollars in suspected fraud linked to public assistance programs. What began as investigations inside U.S. courtrooms has now extended across borders, reaching high-value properties, businesses, and financial networks inside Kenya. This is no longer just an American case. It is now a regional accountability moment. From Nairobi to Minnesota, governments are responding, assets are being traced, legal processes are moving, and serious questions are being raised about how public funds may have been misused, moved, and invested. In this video, you will hear different reactions from political leaders, analysts, and concerned voices as this unfolding investigation takes shape. Stay with us because what you are about to watch explains why this case matters far beyond one country, one community, or one court ruling.
We have a lot of leaders here, great leaders like Tom Emmer. I watch him on television. He was talking about Somalia today. Where's Tom? He was talking about the Somalian population, and not very nicely. He was not nice. But that's okay. He doesn't mind. Where is Tom? Right here. He's great. What a great leader he is. We need you in Minnesota. We need you in Minnesota. He's actually in Washington. Big, powerful congressman. But you did a great job today, Tom. Thank you very much. We all appreciate it because we want to take back our country. Can you imagine? They stole $18 billion. That's just what we're learning about. That's peanuts. In California is worse. Illinois is worse. And sadly, New York is worse. A lot of other places. So we're going to get to the bottom of all of it. It was a giant scam. Other than that, we're going to have a great new year. Actually, I view that as a reason for a good new year because we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to get that money back. It's all coming.
The Asset Recovery Agency will be engaged from the point of seizure, and all assets used or acquired through these activities, including cash, vehicles, land, buildings, and businesses, will be treated as proceeds of crime, promptly frozen, prosecuted, forfeited to the state, and redirected.
We accept the President's words. They came from a place of anger and disappointment. I'm sure many Americans feel the same way.
The President was right to let loose his feelings. It shocked us into understanding the severity of the harm our people caused.
These criminals betrayed America's welcoming spirit. The scale of these crimes has stained the reputation of American Somalis.
America's freedoms allowed us to build a unique community here in Minnesota. In return, we must promise to weed out any evil living among us.
This evil came from within our community. And so, as an honorable community, we take responsibility. We must correct this wrongdoing.
The only way to regain the trust of this nation is to root out crime, stay humble, and be forever grateful. That's the premise.
So, as honorable Somalis, we are going to take on the responsibility of apologizing to all Americans. We are deeply, deeply sorry.
The shame of this will haunt us forever. And hopefully over time you will come to forgive us. Thank you.
Believe me when I say this, don't envy every rich man or woman that you come across, because most of it is ill-gotten wealth. Let's have a look at this cover of the Daily Nation, for example, and I quote, 39 billion scam. US agents target Kenyan properties. On to the subheader, payback. Payback since 2022. Kenya has featured in courts in the US state of Minnesota during a 39 billion corruption trial. Masterminds of the COVID-era scandal invested part of the cash stolen from the US taxpayers in Kenya, buying high-end apartments and luxury resorts. Now, with their conviction, US authorities are on the trail of the ill-gotten wealth. And you can see an individual called Abdiaziz Farah, Abdi Majid Noor, Mukhtar Sharif, Hayat Noor, and Mohammed Ismail. Then right next to Mohammed Ismail, there's another text which reads, Karibu Palms Resort in Diani, which convict Liban Alishire bought using part of his stolen $315 million. He agreed to surrender the property. So let me explain how this scam works. Picture this. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when schools were closed and fear was everywhere, the US government released emergency funds meant for hungry children. The program was called Feeding Our Future. It was meant to be a simple, noble cause where the US government gave out meals to low-income kids because they could no longer eat at school under shutdown. Now here's where the plot thickens. Some goons from Minnesota came up with a non-profit organization called Feeding Our Future, and guess what? The state of Minnesota trusted those goons to oversee millions of dollars from the federal child nutrition program. And instead of distributing food, the Feeding Our Future non-profit started approving fake food sites which claimed to be feeding thousands of children every day. In some sites, they claimed to be serving 3,000 meals, 5,000 meals, or even 10,000 meals daily. But in reality, there were no children and there was no food. It was all just a big scam. Now in comes the second question. Where did the money go to? First up, right here in Nairobi, Kenya, a high-rise apartment building was purchased, specifically in the South Sea neighborhood near Nairobi National Park. According to the DOJ, Department of Justice, that is, another defendant bought an aircraft in Nairobi using the same funds. You go to Diani, another one of these shifty individuals allegedly wired $216,000 towards purchasing Karibu Palms Resort in Diani Beach, just right next to the Indian Ocean. Still on the US Department of Justice report, some of the funds were also used to buy land in Mandera town along the border with Somalia and Ethiopia. Again, let me reiterate, don't envy wealthy men and women. For some of them, we just never know how they came about those funds. These are people who are going to scam taxpayers abroad to then come and wash the money in this country. You have heard of South Sea, you have heard of Diani, you've heard of Mandera town. Others are even buying planes and they're chartering them to us. These are some of the things which need to be recouped by the US and Kenyan government, sold, and then we share the spoils. Sababu hii pesa hatuwezi rudishia wa America much as ni yao. The crime was committed on both countries. The funds were stolen in America, invested in Kenya. We will seize them, sell them, tukatane katikati nusu-nusu. Because that is what they would have done in America anyway. I don't think they'd send it all the way back to Kenya if at all. And this is what's going on in this country, left, right, center. Scammers si wale pekee wako Minnesota. Even this housing program, kuna watu wanakulia illegally. Overpricing cement, overpricing chuma ya D10, D12, D8, overpricing BRT. Everything is through the roof for the sake of somebody getting kickbacks and stealing from the nation. As we deal with these people who stole from America, we must also ask ourselves, who are these people who are currently stealing from this republic? Because pia wale wanaiba Kenya ni exchange program. Hawa wanaiba huko wanaleta hapa. Wetu wanaiba hapa wanapeleka Dubai na kwingine. So we must also start looking into that. But anywho guys, let's see what Kenyans on X had to say about this, and I quote. Brian Okello said, from Minnesota to Minnesota. Well said, Brian. Godfrey Mugambi said, was just wondering how a Somali president could come open a big mall in Isili in the company of Duale, who has become very arrogant of late. He has kept very silent on this matter. Serikali ya majambazi ikiongozwa na jambazi. Combo Steve said, the US government itabidi ianze kushindana na boma yangu kuuza nyumba. The Kenyan property market is saturated with overpriced houses. Information Technology said, USA does not play with taxpayer funds. They have the reach and means to claw back their money. Sir Isaac Newton said, in the same way that funds meant for development in Mandera, Wajir, Isiolo finds its way to Isli. Ironically, Isli was never mentioned in this report, but that's an interesting tweet right there. Gatonga Kairu said, 39 billion is just a drop in the ocean, literally. The fraud must be quite extensive. If the US authorities dig a little deeper, the entire of South B, C, and Parklands will suddenly become empty shells. Selector Physicus said, wakifukuzwa US watakuja Kenya. Please be vigilant. Nchi yetu isiwe another Nigeria, Sudan, ama Lebanon.
What you have just watched is not only about numbers, court cases, or properties. It is about trust. It is about what happens when systems designed to protect the vulnerable are allegedly exploited. It is about what happens when public money crosses borders quietly. And it is about the responsibility of governments, both in Africa and beyond, to protect their citizens, their economies, and their integrity. This conversation is not about attacking communities. It is about accountability. It is about transparency. It is about ensuring that justice applies equally, no matter who is involved. Kenya's real estate market, America's public assistance programs, and international financial systems are all affected when dirty money moves unchecked. The consequences are real. Rising prices, distorted markets, broken trust, and weakened institutions. And that is why stories like this matter. If we want stronger economies, safer communities, and fairer systems, we must be willing to ask hard questions, calmly, responsibly, and without fear. If you found this report important, tap the like button so more people can stay informed. Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments, and subscribe to Voice of Africa for more investigative, African-centered reporting that protects truth, dignity, and progress. Until next time, stay informed, stay grounded, and always stand for accountability.